What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is the Balls and Bars podcast. My name is David McKeever with my co-host Austin Tackett, and we're coming back at you. We had a little longer layoff between episode 2 and episode 3. Life just happens. We got pretty busy. But we're going to knock episode 3 out today and hopefully stick to a more regular recording schedule. If you haven't checked out episode 1 and 2, they are posted on YouTube at the Balls and Bars podcast. You can also find us on Facebook at the Balls and Bars podcast and Twitter at the Balls and Bars pod. How you doing today, Austin?
I'm good.
All right. So today we've been pretty rap heavy and pretty basketball heavy on the first two episodes. So we decided to mix it up a little bit. We're going to discuss our top 5 favorite bands, and then we're going to go over. I don't know if we'll end up doing every division. We'll see what people think. If they like the breakdown, maybe we'll go through every division. But I definitely wanted to get the NFC North in football broken down, since that is, our hometown Lions division. And I know we have differing thoughts on kind of where some of the teams are as far as their standings. So I thought that'd make for some interesting conversation. So we're going to break down our top 5 favorite bands. And then we're going to go into our NFC North discussion, kind of talk about each team and kind of give how we think they're going to finish as far as rankings wise. Sound good?
Sounds like a plan.
All right. Well, you want to kick it off with your number 5 favorite band?
I will. And so you kind of touched on it. We've been mostly rap stuff, and I didn't know if we were going to count rap bands. Someone that I've really been into, and I don't know if you want to call it as a band or not, but The Roots. I got really into Black Thought. He's an artist that's in The Roots. So I got really into his music. He's an excellent rapper. So I put them at number 5 as a tie with Rage Against the Machine.
Okay.
Just because their music is something that I listened to a ton, as I was younger with you and Kenneth and Scott, and because I don't know if that's when they were blowing up, was when I was a little bit younger and all of us were hanging out or not.
No,
but that's when I first heard about them.
Yeah.
But they were killing it back then, and they have some of the most iconic songs that I can think of, at least.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I would definitely consider the Roots a band. There's a difference between them and say Beastie Boys or Run DMC, because Roots actually play instruments. I think
that's why I had them there, and I didn't necessarily want to put them definite number 5, because I know we were trying to get a little bit of variety outside of rap.
Sure. And I mean, even Rage Against the Machine has some rap. A lot of it is a really heavy rap influence. But all right, I respect that. The Roots are a super talented group of musicians. So, all right, my number 5 is a band that I used to listen to a lot, and then didn't really listen to for a few years. But lately, our boy Hunter and LJ Leroy have kind of renewed my interest in them, and that's Motley Crue.
That's a surprise pick.
Yeah, Motley Crue's. I like 80s hair bands, and I think Motley Crue's probably the best one of the group in my eyes. When I've been up north these last month or so, every now and then, we'd just throw some Motley Crue on, play some beer pong, let those guitar riffs, Tommy Lee on the drums really get you going. A few of their big songs: Kickstart My Heart, Home Sweet Home, Girls, 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 Shout to the Devil. Just classic 80s rock. I'm a big fan of Motley Crue, so that's my number 5.
You said you think that they're the best 80s hair band?
I mean, it's debatable. I know a lot of people like Guns N' Roses more, and
I would automatically put Guns N' Roses above them.
Yeah, I like Guns N' Roses. I just like more Motley Crue songs, I think.
Yeah.
But I think I like certain Guns N' Roses songs more than in Motley Crue songs. But
Who do you think was bigger?
Oh, Guns N' Roses was definitely bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so just a personal preference. But I mean, I like Guns N' Roses too. All right, who you got
Yeah, I
at
don't think
four?
you can really go wrong.
No.
Number four might be a surprise pick to most people, but I mean, you'll probably understand. I picked the Eagles, and that is really just because or our grandpa listened to them a lot. People don't know him as Pooh, I guess, but our grandpa listened to them a lot, and like Hotel California might be one of my favorite songs of like
Yeah,
any genre of all time.
that's
And
Grandpa's
so like
super band too, I believe.
that just like carries a lot of weight with me, I think, just because of like the memories that I have listening to that band. So that's why I have it for.
Kind of funny. My number four I put for the exact same reason, but I went with the Beach Boys.
See, I was gonna put them at five, but then I just don't listen to them enough. I feel like to put them in my list.
Yeah, I don't listen to them all the time now, but back in the day, me and Grandpa used to listen to them all the time. And I put
Yeah.
here, I'll never forget going to a Beach Boys concert with him. And John Stamos, Uncle Jesse from Full House, was playing the
Uh,
drums. And
oh,
Full
that's
House
dope.
was like my favorite show as a little kid. So I just thought it was so cool that like Uncle Jesse was there, at the Beach
Yeah.
Boys concert. Beach Boys are just a great to listen to if you're like at the beach, obviously, or laying by the pool, or just a nice summer day even, and driving around.
Yeah, like they're super popular here. Like when Jess and I go for a drive sometimes, like we'll just put the Beach Boys on and it just
Oh yeah,
feels so right.
yeah,
Cause like all the roads down here, you're just
yeah,
driving along the beach. So then listening to the Beach Boys just like fits.
yeah. Wouldn't it be nice? Surfing USA, Good Vibrations, just to name of the few of their biggest songs. But yeah,
Yeah.
I love the Beach Boys. All right, who you got at three?
Three, I have the Red Hot Chili Peppers because they were more popular, I think, like in my era, if you want to call it that, I guess. I think, and like I don't know, like if I know a bad Beach Boys or not Beach Boys, I'm sorry, Chili Peppers song.
Yeah,
Like Californication is awesome. Scar Tissue is awesome. Like I think Hunter even remixed one of the songs to make it a rap song just because they're so like just the drum beat of them and the guitar part of them is just so iconic for a lot of those songs. And Flea is just an awesome guy too. So
yeah. So we're having a little same brain today. Red Hot Chili Peppers is my number three.
oh really?
Yeah, I put what they're one of the most talented bands, that I can think of at least, as far
Yeah.
as just musicians with the singing and
Hmm.
they're. I would describe it as like the definition of like chill music, right?
Yeah.
You're just trying to hang out, drink a couple beers, play some video games or something. Red Hot Chili Peppers is the way to go.
Yeah.
Uh,
Can't go wrong.
yeah, there's it's just the most mellow, just feel good stuff. So, Californication, obviously, touchdown, Under the Bridge, Other Side, Scar Tissue. The hits are endless with
Yeah.
them. So, who you got at
Big
two?
time. Number two, I have Nirvana.
Okay.
And that might just be off of like same like the same type of thing. Like they were popular in my early life, but also like still the weight carries because their hits were so much bigger than like any other hit song. And like their what's the name of that album? In Utero, I believe is what that album is called. And
Yeah.
like that whole album is just a banger.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have Nirvana on my list, but I definitely recognize their influence to,
Well,
especially
and like
culture.
if you remember, I think I was watching with you one time at grandma's house, like the top bands of the 90s, and they
Yeah.
were ranked as number one or
Oh, yeah. Most
top
popular by
songs of the
far.
90s or something.
Yeah. I mean, Smells Like Teen Spirit is probably the most popular song of the 90s, or if
Yeah,
not,
and like they had
top.
a huge influence on where rock music went like from that time because you know the Rolling Stones and stuff like they carried it for a while with the Beatles and like those older bands and then it transitioned to like the 80s hair bands and then Nirvana came along and like
The
turned
grunge.
real grunge rock into like an actual thing. So like their influence was massive too.
Sure. All right, so at two, I have somebody you had tied for five. I have Rage Against the Machine. They're probably my favorite band to listen to when I'm not trying to like sing along karaoke style like I like to do.
Yeah.
Um, if I just need to get myself motivated, like this morning, I've been trying to get on the health kick, and I got up and went for a walk, and put some Rage on, get your blood flowing. Um, Bulls on Parade, Testify, Guerrilla Radio, Killing in the Name of. Their cover of F the Police, the NWA song, just classic, angry, angry teenager, angry young
Yeah.
adult music that is just so good.
They might put on like the best live show. Like I have never seen them live, but I think I shared the video on Facebook multiple times about when they were performing "Killing in the Name of" live,
yeah,
and it was just like the most hyped thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
that's a subject that I was gonna propose we do sometime, like a list of acts that we would love to see live, and
Yeah,
Rage is definitely up there, with Eminem and a couple others is probably one of my
they have to be because like
top
just
five.
off that video alone, it looked so like just intense and awesome to be there.
Yeah. Well, knowing you, I think I know who your number one's going to be. Why don't you go ahead and share that with the audience?
Well, let's see. So who do you think I have? I'll guess your number one,
I'm going to say the Beatles.
of course, and I bet you probably have Queen.
Absolutely.
All right, so I'll go to the Beatles. I'll start. Just like I don't know if there's anybody that can really debate having. I guess you're gonna try, but who can? You don't have them in your top five, actually.
No, they're on my honorable mentions, but
That is absurd.
if it was top five, just pure best bands, I'd probably put them in there just off of
I
influence.
just realized that is ridiculous that you
Yeah.
don't have them in your top five.
Favorite bands, yeah, they're okay.
Just like okay, so I'm gonna set the scene a little bit. So imagine you're at the house and you're drinking some beer, you're hanging out with the boys, playing some Halo 3, and you just got $37 worth of Taco Bell. And you're gonna sit there and eat it. You can't play because your hands are full with soft tacos and mild sauce. Put on the Beatles and everything just gets so much cooler because like the songs and like the different lyrics, like if you actually listen to the lyrics that these guys are talking about, like you're just gonna laugh and it's gonna spur a conversation and it's going to spur a bunch of thought because of like some of this stuff you got to think like what the heck were these guys thinking when they're doing this, and then you get beyond that and you're like the music is actually really good, like the songwriting is great, the music itself, like the instruments that they played, whether it was the four of them or they had like somebody come in and help them play, was just like impeccable. I don't know how you for one don't have them at number one or even in your top five.
Well, I will tell you that exact scenario has happened,
Yeah,
and
and it doesn't get any
we
better than that.
we don't listen to the Beatles though. We listen to Red Hot Chili Peppers. But yeah, I don't know. I've just never. I mean, I recognize the talent. I do like some of the songs, but they're just not for me. Now, Queen, on the other hand, is without a doubt the greatest band to ever exist. Freddie
Uh,
Mercury, the greatest frontman of all time. Queen probably has, if not the most, up there with the most hits of any band. Fat Bottom Girls, We Will Rock You, Under Pressure, Another One Bites the Dust, Don't Stop Me Now, and of course Bohemian Rhapsody. Every member of Queen was just hyper talented. They were all great singers. They could all play instruments. Bohemian Rhapsody, the movie, well, maybe not the best theatrical movie, is one of my favorite movies I saw last year just because the music was so fantastic. Queen's the best. I don't care what you say.
don't I can't. I just have never like. There's a couple of songs that are like that I know. Of course, We Will Rock You and like, but really, to me, like their music is just music that plays at sporting events. Like I would never sit down and like put on a Queen album and listen to it unless like I'm at a basketball game and they're playing We Will Rock You. Like that's it.
You need to listen to a Queen album. Your mind will explode. All right, do you have any
Eh.
honorable mentions?
I mean, not really. I think I put the ones that I really cared about there. Like Guns
Okay.
N' Roses is awesome. I've listened to them a lot just because like my mom and dad. AC/DC's there, people like that, but
Your mom
not
would
like
be
my
pissed if
favorite.
you didn't mention Bon Jovi.
Yeah, and I guess Def Leppard right up there too. But like I only really listen to them just because
Your
like
mom.
the family affiliation.
Yeah, I put Coldplay, U2, two bands that I really like, and then one that's not as popular, but they should honestly have been on my top five favorite, but Mute Math. I think
I was thinking about them too because
they're
like
so good.
some of their music, yeah, but like I don't know if I just like them because like that's what I listened to when I was hanging out with you guys when I was younger,
Yeah,
or
Mute Math reminds me of a Red Hot Chili Peppers, where it's just like if you're just trying to chill out and just enjoy good quality music, and I guess the Beatles could fall into that category too.
Yeah.
Um, it's just a great band. I think for me, the difference with us, with the Beatles and Queen, is I love listening to music, but I also love singing music. And there's
Yeah.
no band that's better to just sing along to than Queen. Just because
Yeah.
Freddie
Well,
Mercury's just such a amazing artist, and I like to try to hit all those high notes and all that belting and stuff. So I think it's just something for me that if I'm singing in the shower, 9 times out of 10 it's gonna be a Queen song.
yeah, but then don't you listen to like him sing and then versus you sing and then just get sad because you sound like trash?
No, I'm better than Freddie Mercury,
Yeah, I bet.
but it's close. It's close.
You know who actually I had, and I was just looking at my notes that I have on my phone here. Who I also had was like on the, I don't know if they're rap or like pop or whatever, but I had the Jackson 5 because like
Yeah,
so much
they're
good
definitely not
music
rap.
came from them.
Yeah,
So like
yeah,
they were up
definitely
there,
not
but
rap. They're a pop band for sure.
yeah,
I think they just get outshadowed by what Michael did in his solo career.
that's why I couldn't put them there because his solo career was so much bigger than like the Jackson 5 group career.
Sure. All right, so let's get into our NFC North talk, and then I'm just gonna do this on the fly, see what you think. Let's go over this division, and then instead of doing each division for the next 7 weeks, why don't
Mhm.
we do the division, and then we'll just give our true off the cuff who we think's gonna be MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, maybe, and Super Bowl matchup. Sound good?
I can do it. Sounds good to me.
All right. So how do you want to go with just pick a team? We can just pick a team and then give our little
Yeah,
synopsis, and then we'll give our final rankings, obviously, after.
yeah, we can do that. So why don't you go first? I started with the music.
All right, sure. I went through week by week for their schedules, predicted the wins and losses. I tried to not be biased. It's hard, obviously, but these are my predictions for the games, not necessarily the facts of what's going to happen. Obviously, I'll start with the Lions. Why not? I have the Lions going 9-7 on the year. Um, I'll just go through just real quick. Win against Arizona, win against the Vikings, the Giants, the Raiders, the Cowboys, the Redskins, one of the games against the Bears, the Bucks, and one of the games against the Packers. So
Yeah,
that would have them losing to the Chargers, the Eagles, the Chiefs, the Packers, the Bears, the Vikings, and the Broncos. So I have them going 1-1 with all the divisional teams, and then picking up losses to some of the real heavy hitters that they're facing.
yeah,
Denver's not that great, but it's at Denver. So
and that's a hard place to win.
halfway across the country. So I got them getting a loss there. And then besides that, just the obvious ones, I don't see them beating the Chargers or the Eagles or the Chiefs.
Yeah,
So I have for many years I've maintained the Lions can win any game and lose any game. They'll come out and they'll beat teams that you didn't think they have no chance of beating, like they beat the Patriots a couple times the last few years. But then they come out and lose to teams that you think they should win by 15 points, 14 points.
yeah,
So it's kind of hard to predict, the Lions' record off of that. I do think they have an outstanding defensive line. Um, Probably, if not the best, definitely a top 3 or 4 defensive line in the league. And I think that's going to help keep them in games. As somebody who played defensive line, I know if you can get to the quarterback and rush the quarterback, the other team's going to have a hard time scoring. Um, Even though our secondary is not bad, I wouldn't say anymore, but it's definitely not a strong suit. Besides Slay, Slay is fantastic, but
yeah,
the rest of the pieces are okay. They're NFL starters, but they're not studs by any means. But if you're giving quarterbacks, only a second or two to throw that ball, and we're able to shut down the run, that's gonna, really help out. Um,
Do you, so
2018 was. Oh, go ahead.
So you'll know better than I will about this. So their defensive line, do you think they're going to do better against the pass or against the run?
Run for sure. Um, they have Snacks Robinson, um, or not Snacks Robinson, Snacks Harrison. Sorry,
Yeah.
Ashawn Robinson and Damian Harrison. And when they traded for Snacks, they were the worst team in the league, I want to say, or the bottom three, I know, against the run the first part of the year.
Yeah.
If you don't count the very first game that he played, right, you chalk that up to first game in the system. If you count after that game for the rest of the season, they went from bottom three in the league to top five rush defense just off of him. And then they added in Ashawn Robinson and Deshaun Hand are both another year, experienced.
Mm-hmm.
And then they brought in Eric Flowers. So I think, or Trey Flowers, excuse me.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
and so another question that you would know much more than I would because you pay more attention to it. The Lions defense, we've had many a discussion about how they couldn't stay on the field. A lot of their defensive players, specifically the defensive line. Do you see anything that might change with that? Or like, are they injury prone players, or do they just have real bad luck?
I don't think Harrison or I'm not sure about Flowers, to be honest. This is his first year with the Lions,
Mm-hmm.
and he was with the Patriots. I'm not sure about his injuries. Ashawn Robinson has had a few issues, nothing long term, but nagging stuff every now and then.
Yeah.
But that you brought that up, that's what I was just about to get into. Is 2018 was a terrible year for the Lions offense. And a lot of people, yourself included, probably chalk that up to Stafford not being good and, not having a good running game and all that kind of stuff. I personally chalk it up to two things. Terrible play calling, absolutely abysmal play calling, and they had a lot of injuries. Their offensive line was devastated with injuries. Marvin Jones got hurt. Kenny Galladay got hurt. Trey Jones got hurt. Um, uh, Theo Riddick got hurt for a little bit. Kerryon Johnson got hurt. LeGarrette Blount got hurt. And Stafford, I don't know if you've heard this. I know it's big news here, but you're down in Florida. Apparently, Stafford was playing with a fractured back last year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what. At least that's the reports coming out of the beat writers, is that
Mm-hmm.
he had fractured bones in his back the entire season. And as somebody who watched probably 80% of the Lions snaps, he looked scared to get hit last year. And I'm
So
starting
he looked like Eli Manning.
yeah, yeah. And I'm starting to wonder if it's because of that. He knows, okay, if I get hit, I might be done for the year.
Yeah.
You know, so, instead of trying to make that play like he did in previous years that made Stafford such a fan favorite of a lot of people, he was just turtling and taking sacks or throwing the ball away or, that type of thing.
Yeah.
But
And see, that's fair because like throughout his past, no matter how critical I've been of Stafford, like one thing that even me, I can't be critical of is like his toughness and willingness to play through like injuries, even if they're, little or whatever. But I haven't heard that. So like kudos to him if that is true.
yeah. I mean, yes and no at the same time. It drives me crazy when athletes play through something and it hinders the team.
Mm-hmm.
But I get why they do it at the same time.
Yeah.
You're making all that money. You feel like you need to get out there and help the team.
Well,
But
that
we
and
did,
like so competitive, Like
yeah,
that's how both of us are.
yeah. I'm sorry, I just got a breaking news. I'm gonna bust in here real quick. It's about your boy AB.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, let me pull it up. It just popped up on the Sleeper app. And if you guys play fantasy football, you need to get the Sleeper app. They're not a sponsor or anything, obviously, but the leagues are really nice on there. And then just the news. It says breaking: Raiders
I
wide
just read it
receiver
myself.
Antonio Brown has notified the team that unless he's able to wear his old helmet, he will not play football again. What is happening?
So like his Steelers helmet.
I have no idea.
That's great news for
Guy
me.
doesn't. Yeah, he has. Austin has Antonio Brown on his dynasty team. Guy doesn't wear protective gear in a cryogenic chamber and gets frostbite, and now he wants to wear his old helmet, or else he's not playing football again.
Like,
Jeez,
what does that even mean?
I have no idea. Anyways, back to the Lions real quick, and then I'll let you talk on them a little bit. They do have the new offensive coordinator, Darrell Bevell, who's a real run-heavy guy. He had a lot of success in Seattle, and I absolutely love Kerryon Johnson. I know you're not sold on him yet. He's still young, but I love that we released Theo Riddick because that shows a commitment to carry on as that true three-down back. And I just have them go 9-7. I don't have them winning the division, but I think they'll be in the mix for a wild card. They might miss out, just by a game or so, but I think it'll be overall a pretty okay season for the Lions.
Yeah. So I did not look up, wins and losses and stuff like that. I didn't go that deep into it. But I did take notes on each team, and then I have how I think they're going to be ranked at the end of the season and stuff. But so for the Lions, the notes that I have is, for one, I didn't know that about the Stafford injury. So if that is the case and he comes back healthy this year and can play better, then that's even better for the team, obviously. The notes that I put is that if Kerryon can stay on the field, it'll be a huge bonus. I didn't hear, and I kind of looked it up, but I didn't see much. So maybe you can touch on that after I'm done. Has their offensive line improved much? Because Kerryon's not a very big back. He's very elusive and quick and stuff like that. So I think he'll do well. But from just like looking at him, he doesn't seem to be a very big back. So if he's heavy, I don't see him being able to run through the tackles very well. On the outside, I think he'll do excellent. But running through the tackles and up the middle and stuff like that, which is really important, I don't think that he'll do as well as people think, maybe. But maybe if their offensive line has improved, which you might know better than I would. Hawkinson, I know they drafted him first round, and I was so upset about that because even though I'm not necessarily a Lions fan, to me, taking a tight end that early and like a guy that I didn't think was the best tight end in the draft. I can't think of the other guy's name right now.
No,
looking at highlight, yeah, that guy. I thought he was the better tight end coming out. But you were super high on Hawkinson, so maybe he'll turn out. I think he could be a really good red zone threat just from some of the highlights that I've watched of him. He seems to be a really good blocker, so that'll be good for Kerryon's sake, I think. And he just seems to be like a big-bodied guy. To me, like body-wise, kind of looks like Gronk. He looks like he'll be able to play a similar role.
That's who he's been comped to a lot as far as being a great blocker and a great, receiver.
Yeah, like obviously I don't think it's good. Gronk might be the best tight end ever play.
Yeah, it's hard to comp somebody like Gronk.
Yeah, so like if he can be sort of like that, being able to block and then be a red zone threat and still a threat, up the middle and stuff like that every so often, I think would be really good for them. And then I just put Stafford really has to prove his worth because he's consistently one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL and has been for years now. He's going into his 11th season and hasn't even won a playoff game yet. So I'd really like to see them. I think their goal should be to win a playoff game this season. I think is what they should do. I think, this team, I looked at their offseason. I looked at some of the stuff that they did throughout the offseason, and I think they can really improve over last year. But I just don't see a ton of improvement there. I mean, their defense is going to be better, but the secondary is still iffy to me. And as pass heavy as the league is getting now, I don't really see the defensive line, unless they can really get to the quarterback like extremely fast. I don't see their defense really being as good as you think they are. But 9-6 or 9-7 rather, I think is reasonable. I think I have them at 6 wins or 7 wins. Just because their division is so good this year, and we're going to get into that with the rest of the 3 teams. Their division is just so good that they have to play each of those teams twice. I don't really see them winning many of those games unless, kind of the things that I pointed out turn out. If Stafford can come back and be healthy, I guess if he wasn't last year, and Kerryon can stay on the field and be that excellent running back that you and a lot of other people think he can be, along with Hawkinson really turning out to be the player that the Lions must have thought and you thought. If they can do that, then yeah, I'm cool with your prediction of 9 wins, maybe 10 wins. But I just don't have them that high.
Yeah. To speak on Hawkinson for a second and the offensive line, that is one part that I'm not. The offensive line, we have some good pieces, some good young guys. We did lose T.J. Lang. and they're instead of going out and getting somebody to replace him, they're just replacing him kind of in house. So that always makes me nervous. But I think Hawkinson's going to help the offense in general a ton. Generally, I agree to not take a tight end that early, but as far as just like the draft analysis and um, I'm blanking on the word, but the draft scouting,
Hmm.
a lot of people had Hawkinson as one of the best like pass catchers as far as just pure hands, drop rate, and one of the best blockers, lumping him in with all the different offensive linemen. So if you got somebody who's that dynamic who you can keep in to help protect the quarterback if needed, if we're facing a Bears or something, with that heavy pass rush, or we can peel them out. I do like that flexibility. I think
Do you think he's going to make that big of an impact like that soon, though, or you think he's
I,
going to be more of
I
an
think
impact
he'll
two,
I
three
think he'll
years down
make
the
an
road?
impact to the offense, but not in ways that a lot of people will think about or notice. Right? I don't think he'll be like say a good fantasy player this year.
Yeah,
Tight
like it won't show up on the stat sheet.
Yeah, tight ends are rarely great fantasy options in the first year, or even two, because they
Hmm.
have so much they have to learn. They have to learn the route trees as well as the blocking schemes. But I think he's going to make some big plays, and I think he's going to make a huge offense as far as just the blocking. I do think he has a chance to make a fantasy impact just because I've watched years of Eric Ebron playing for the Lions and years of Matthew Stafford hitting Eric Ebron right in the chest with the ball in the end zone and him just dropping it. Right.
Yeah.
So if Hawkinson does have the good hands, like people say, and he runs those same routes, he could very easily put up a decent touchdown number. They're saying at camp that him and Jesse James both. The Lions just had a joint camp practice week with the Patriots before their preseason game, and I guess Hawkinson and Jesse James are both just showing out all week, making crazy catches, going up against cornerbacks, and just using their big frame because Jesse James is like 6'6".
Yeah,
So
but see, that I forgot to include that, but I thought about that as well because he played on the Steelers last year, right, or a couple years back. I remember him, I
yeah,
think.
he was on the Steelers last year.
And but he's a pretty good tight end in himself.
He's more of an offensive threat. He's not a good
So
blocker.
are they going to run a two tight end set,
Probably.
or
I imagine they will. A lot of teams do now, where they have two tight ends in, and that way they can keep Hawkinson in sometimes if they need to, and just send James out to have that extra blocker.
yeah,
We don't really. I mean, we have Danny Amendola as our third wide receiver, but it's Danny Amendola, so we basically just have Jones and Galladay. So
yeah, but so
having those.
that's why I think that I mean, in terms of like football itself, Hawkinson might have a really big impact. But like if you're looking to score points and to win the game and stuff, I think Jesse James may have more of an impact based on what you just said. He's more of an offensive guy, and I don't see Galladay or Amendola being huge parts of their offense. I mean, I know Galladay is good. Amendola he'll probably get a concussion in like week 4.
Yeah,
Um, so then I think Jesse James is going to have to step up and be a big part of their offense. So
he could.
I see him having
He's
quite an impact.
he's a good pass catcher. Big target. Stafford, Stafford likes his big targets, going all the way back to CJ. So
Yeah.
all right, well, let's move on from the Lions. Obviously, the Lions are probably going to have a little longer discussion than the other teams just because it's the hometown team. But
Yeah.
all right, I'm gonna hit the Vikings now. I have the Vikings going 10-6. I'm not gonna go through all their wins losses, but I have them beating the teams you think they would beat: the Raiders, the Giants, the Redskins,
Yeah.
the Broncos because it's a home game for them. I have them losing at Seattle. I have them losing to the Eagles, to the Chargers. So, not to the Falcons at home. So 10-6. I think the Vikings are the most balanced team in the division. They have probably the best, one of the best wide receiver duos in the league. The Rams have that trio, of Woods, Cooks, and Cup, but I don't know if any two of them are better than Thielen and Diggs. Um,
Yeah.
and then Dalvin Cook is a hyper talented player who just can't stay healthy. So if Cook can
Mm,
stay healthy, then their offense is going to be pretty potent. But if Cooks goes down, they lost Latavius Murray. They did bring in a rookie Mattinson, but who knows how that'll go. So and they're a lot like the Lions. They want to run the ball. So a lot's going to lean on Delvin Cook in his ability to stay healthy. Their O line's not the best. It's average. I wouldn't say it's bad, but it's okay. Their
yeah.
defense is fantastic. The biggest question with them, besides Cook's health, is just Kirk Cousins. Um, I think he's a talented quarterback. He reminds me a lot of Stafford, but not quite as physically talented. He doesn't have the arm that Stafford has.
Yeah.
But I think he can lead a team to a winning season, but he can't be the only piece. Like in Washington, he had some good games, but he didn't really have much help.
Right.
So he has Thielen, he has Diggs, he has Cook, Kyle Rudolph. So I think they'll do all right. Cousins just has to basically not lose the games, and they should do okay. He can't
Hmm.
out of games, which he does tend to do sometimes. Make that bonehead interception and end up losing the game for him. See, I have them
Right.
10-6.
Right. So, like, basically with the Vikings, you covered pretty much everything I was going to say. And my, like, synopsis of the division has a trend basically throughout the whole thing. For the Vikings, I said Cousins just has to be better. Like, he put up the stats last year, but the team was only a 500 team. And if you're going to sign a huge contract like he has, because his contract is massive,
Yeah,
if I recall, it's one of the biggest in the league, if not the biggest for quarterbacks in the league, maybe before Wentz signed his, but huge contract. And he just has to live up to that because a 500 team, and if you're the quarterback, you just have to do better, especially with all the weapons he does have at his disposal. You just got to be better than that, I think, if you're Cousins. Um, Dalvin Cook, same thing. He has to stay on the field because he's so good. And down here, since he went to Florida State,
yeah,
people were like so excited about him and we're just so hyped up like when he's in college, and rightly so because he was great in college, but he just couldn't stay healthy in the pros and hasn't proven that yet. But if he can, like, I think we both hope or whatever, just because he's such a good player and we like seeing players do well, of course. So if he can stay on the field, the Vikings, I think they can win the division. um, Pretty easily, I think, if he can stay healthy. But that's really what it's going to rely on to me. Him and Cousins, I think, are the
yeah,
two most important players. Their defense, I don't have any questions about, really. They have so much talent there that I think the defense is going to be fine. But just those two guys, Cook and Cousins, if they can stay healthy, and Cook's, argument, and for Cousins, he just has to do better, I think. And then Thielen and Diggs, I had the same thing that they were the best duo in the league that I could think of. I mean, the only other like tandem I can think of that might come close is Odell and Jarvis Landry,
yeah. That's a
and
good
that's
one.
just with Odell carrying like so much of the talent himself, and then Landry just being really good. But I don't think they're both as good as Thielen and Diggs are both as good.
Yeah, Odell's definitely the best of the four, but say Thielen's the number one. I think Diggs is a much better number two than Landry, but that's a good.
Yeah, like
That's
that's the only
probably
one that I could
closest.
thought that would compare. Um, but I think that they have a chance to be excellent this year. The Vikings do, but
Yeah,
it's going to rely, I think, a lot on Dalvin Cook because they can air the ball out, of course, and I'm sure they will when they need to. But they have a strong defense. Their offense, quarterback and wide receivers wise, is really good. But if they can't run the ball at all, then teams are just going to guard or play the pass, and then they're going to get stopped. So
yeah. All right, move on to the Packers. I got the Packers going 8-8 this year. Um, I think Aaron Rodgers, or excuse me, the Packers have lived and died with Aaron Rodgers, and I think this year he's going to really take a step. a step down.
Really?
He'll still be great, a good quarterback, obviously, but I don't think he has what it takes to take the Packers from being one of those top tier teams, or to make the Packers one of those top tier teams instead of just a kind of average team. Because I don't really like the Packers roster that much. Their defense is good, but not great. Their running game's good, but not great. They have one great wide receiver, but then the rest is kind of gross. I'm not a big MVS or Geronimo Allison fan. Um, they don't have a very easy schedule. That's the thing with this division this year. Like you said earlier, this division's tough. All 14
Yeah.
good ball clubs, and then they have a hard schedule this year. They have to play the Chargers, the Eagles, the Falcons, the Chiefs, so they're playing some top notch teams along with having to play each other 6 times. So, yeah, I got them going 8-8. I just think Aaron Rodgers is going to take that step from being, one of those guys who can carry a team from being an 8-8 team to a 12-4 team,
Mm-hmm.
who just kind of maintaining being an 8-8 team. He's had a lot of injuries too. He's getting up there in age. He's not an old man, but and then if Aaron Rodgers gets hurt like he has the last couple of years, then their season's over, right? You've seen the Packers the last couple of years, and Rodgers goes down, they can't do anything. So
Yeah.
I think that just shows that he has to be that next level, just best quarterback in the league for them to be good. And I'm just not sure if he still has it.
So before I go, who do you think is the right now best quarterback in the NFL?
Um,
I don't know who you pick other than Aaron Rodgers. Nobody has really separated themselves. Nobody has shown that they're like they're
probably
basically
Andrew Luck, but
how
Luck has the same thing with Rodgers as far as injuries. But assuming everyone's healthy, I think Luck's the most talented quarterback currently,
yeah.
just off of age, right? For the Rodgers and the Breeze and
Mm-hmm.
the Breeze and the Rivers, right? They're all fantastic, Big Ben, but they're
Yeah.
just older now. Where
Yeah, you
Luck,
have to assume they're taking a step back, I
yeah,
guess.
Luck's in his prime and has good receivers around him. Has a great arm, has great IQ, can run a little bit. Obviously, Mahomes is the flashy answer, and I love Mahomes, but I think what he did last year was kind of unsustainable.
Yeah,
Um,
like people are so high on him, and I guess rightfully so. But like I feel like any quarterback that can really throw and move around more than Eli Manning, they would have had an excellent year with the Chiefs offense last year. Like
yeah,
that offense is set up for success with a quarterback. And
yeah. I mean,
Mahomes is
Alex Smith did just fine the year
yeah,
before.
and Mahomes is exceptionally talented. I'm not saying he's not, but if it was like any other if you could put Matthew Stafford, who I'm not very high on, you can put him on that team and they probably won the Super Bowl last year.
Oh God, Matthew Stafford on the Chiefs with Tyreek Hill. I mean, Mahomes has a huge cannon too, but Stafford's gun,
Yeah,
their deep balls would be insane.
yeah. But back to the Packers. Basically, they're going to be quick for me. They got a new coach coming in who I don't know much about at all, and it seems like nobody does, just based on what I've seen and read. Nobody knows much about this guy, so he's going to be a huge determining factor. But more so than anything, it's going to be Aaron Rodgers. How can he come out and play? If he can play like Aaron Rodgers, other than last season, the past 8 years, which is just so far better than any other quarterback, I think they'll be fine. Because he's going to be able to carry them to some victories. I think their defense is going to do better than I think a lot of people think. They lost Clinton Dix last year, which I think can hurt them in the secondary. But they drafted Rashawn Gary, who I'm super high on. I think he's going to really anchor the middle of their defense.
Gross.
Um, even if you're not a Michigan fan, he's a great defensive player. He's a great linebacker, and I
Yeah,
think he's gonna really anchor their defense. And I think it's all going to come down to how Stafford and that new coach Matt LaFleur, I think is his name, how
yeah,
they mesh and how they use the running backs that they have, because they have some talented running backs that are
yeah.
sort of
Aaron
young.
Jones is
Aaron
awesome,
Aaron
but they
Jones
just
is,
don't
is
use him.
really good. They just didn't use him enough or the right way, I think, last year. So if they can not rely on Rodgers as much and just kind of have Rodgers make the play, in the third quarter, fourth quarter, just keep them in the game with the running game with the defense, I think they'll be just fine.
Yeah. So speaking on the coach for a bit, I was going to mention that and I forgot to. So one of the big issues with the Packers last year was their coach, Mike McCarthy. Two things. One, Aaron Rodgers, rightfully so, is a giant egomaniac. And they clashed a lot. And if your head coach and your quarterback aren't on the same page, odds are it's not going to go very well. And then the other part is with Aaron Jones, McCarthy just insisted on giving Jamal Williams touches and snaps, and Jamal Williams isn't very good. Aaron Jones was one of the most efficient players in football last year, but he just constantly was getting out snapped by Jamal Williams. So going into this year, everybody was like, "Oh, okay, new coach. Maybe they'll give Rodgers, that freedom. Maybe they'll feature Aaron Jones." First two things this coach says: we're not going to let Aaron audible at the line and change plays at the line, and we're going to have a committee, running backs. So everybody's just like, well, there goes that excitement.
But and the thing is that's like, and again, I'm going to defer to you on this because you played football. Like, to me, when they say we're not going to let Aaron or any good quarterback really change the play at the line of scrimmage, to me, that makes no sense at all.
Not at all.
And because, like, if you look at, like, really any NFL quarterback, because they're in the NFL and they're starting for a reason, like, why should they not be able to change the play? Because for one, what if, because it happened multiple times last year, and whether it's like a scam or what, but like the headsets weren't working or they couldn't hear the coach because the stadium was too loud or whatever. So if you have Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady or Peyton Manning or like one of those guys, especially at the line of scrimmage, and they're seeing, the defense is set up a different way than the play that they've called and they want to change it, I cannot understand at all why they don't want that guy changing the play, because he probably, more than likely, especially in Aaron Rodgers' case, knows more about football than the coach even does.
Defenses, yeah, it's just an ego thing from the coaches, especially a first-year coach trying to make a name for himself.
Yeah, and like I get it, but I don't know. Aaron Rodgers, I guarantee, knows more about football than that coach does.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to get into the Bears. This is going to be my hot take of the podcast. I have the Bears going 6-10. I think they were kind of a fluke last year. Their defense is phenomenal, but it's not as good as what it was last year. Unless you think that Bears defense is a top 5 all-time defense, there's no way they're going to keep up the numbers that they had last year as far as sacks, as far as defensive touchdowns, as far as turnovers. And Mitch Trubisky is just not very good in my opinion. He had a few flash games. He destroyed the Lions on one of their games, but the Lions defense was terrible at the time. So I have them. I haven't beaten the easy teams. I do have them beaten the Packers at home. I haven't beaten the Redskins, the Raiders, who I think are a mess. I haven't beaten the Lions at home, the Giants, but yeah, I just don't think the Bears are going to be very good this year. I think they're David Montgomery. I really like, but their offensive line is okay, and I think just with the defensive regression that's going to happen, just because last year was just one of those ungodly years, and then Mitch Trubisky not being very good, I don't think they're going to be able to overcome the tough schedule, and I have them going 6-10.
So maybe, I guess that's a hot take, or maybe mine is going to be, I have the Bears winning the division this year, actually.
A lot of people do. I know you stepped away there for a second, but the reason I said that I have them going 6-10 is last year the Bears defense put up a historically great season.
No, I mean I listened to you and I heard all that stuff.
Yeah.
However, I'm opposite. I'm. Were you done?
Yeah, I'm good. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm pretty high on Trubisky. I think he's going to be a really good player, a really good quarterback. I think he is already. So I think he's going to continue to get a little bit better. they're going to have more time together with the coach. So they're going to be able to learn the system better that the coach wants to put in play. I think that, what's his name, Montgomery, I think he's the truth. And a lot of times running backs, they come out of college and they just ball right away because the game translates for running back at least pretty easily. So I think he'll be able to come out and just do excellent right away. As we saw last year, Jordan Howard and Tarek Cohen, I think was the guy's name.
Yeah.
They both did pretty well last year, and I think Montgomery is better than both of them. So, if he's able to play as well as I think he will, and I'm hoping because he's on my fantasy team. So, as well as I'm thinking and hoping he'll play, then I think that they're going to be fine. They added a deep ball threat for Trubisky, which they didn't, at least from what I saw in the games last year, and from pretty much like what I remember, really, and what I kind of looked up about these teams. What I saw, they didn't have a lot of deep ball threat last year, and they added Cordero Patterson, who has had an up and down career, but deep ball is his specialty. That's the name of his game, really. And so adding him, I think, could be very good for them. And I said earlier about the Packers, they lost Clinton Dix, who I think we both think is a really good player. He's on the Bears now, so that's going to help their secondary a little bit more. So I think their defense, although won't be as good as last year, because it's so hard to match that. But I think they're going to have a really good year. I have them winning the division, probably 11, 12 wins, maybe.
Yeah. They had some deep ball weapons last year. Taylor Gabriel, Allen Robinson. Trubisky's just not very good at the deep ball. But I think he looked decent at times last year because the defense put him in such good situations. They'd get a turnover, when in their offensive side, or, they'd get a defensive touchdown and give Trubisky the lead so he could kind of settle in. They do still, I love Montgomery. I think he's a real good player. They still have Cohen. I know they're going to use Cohen a lot in the slot, too. He's just kind of one of those gadget players who can go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
They could be good. My biggest thing is I don't think the defense will still be a top 5 defense in the league. They just had so many sacks and so many turnovers and so many defensive touchdowns that I just think it's going to come back to the average a little bit. And then Trubisky's going to have to do a little more, and I just don't. We have a couple of different takes on some of the quarterbacks in the league, Trubisky, Goff. I just don't think he's good enough to carry the team. Not that he's going to have to necessarily carry the team, but he's going to have to do more than he did last year, and I just don't think he's going to be able to.
Well, see, and that's why I think that Montgomery is going to have such a big impact, because they're going to realize, if what you're saying is true, they're going to say, well, you know what, maybe Trubisky isn't like that top tier, like elite quarterback, so they're going to rely on Montgomery or the running game in general more. And I think Montgomery is going to excel.
The thing is, though, Jordan Howard was fine last year. Over the last 3 years, since Jordan Howard's been in the league, he is the third most rushing yards in football.
Yeah, he's super slept on.
Yeah, it's not like they had a bad rushing game last year.
Mm-hmm.
It could go up just because Montgomery can catch the ball and Howard can't. But I don't know. We'll see. So I have the division going. I have the Vikings winning at 10-6. And then I have the Lions at 9-7, the Packers at 8-8, and the Bears at 6-10. So real tight. Everybody, right in there. It could flip flop between. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if any of the teams won.
Yeah.
Even though I have them as the second highest, I'd probably be the most surprised if the Lions won. But I don't think that's a talent thing. I think it's just a skeptical Lions fan watched it for the last 28 years. So, you just expect them to not. But I think any of the teams probably could win. I think they're all going to, I have 10 wins as the division winner. That's really not that high. But I think they're just going to cannibalize each other along with just having a really tough schedule for the division.
I agree.
So honestly, even though I think this might be one of the best divisions, I wouldn't be surprised if only one team out of the division made the playoffs. Because I don't, there's going to be some, say the NFC North, or we are the North, I'm sorry, the NFC East. with the Eagles and the Cowboys. The Redskins and the Giants are so bad. The Eagles and Cowboys might both get 11, 10, 11
Yeah.
wins just off of that and stealing. And then the NFC West with the Seahawks and the Cardinals are improved and the 49ers are improved and, of course, the Rams. So it's going to be tough and then that's not even counting the South with the Chargers, or with the Saints and the Panthers. And, so it's going to be tough for two of these teams to get into the playoffs. So,
Yeah.
the division's going to be, even though it might be the deepest division in all of football as far as 1 to 4, don't be surprised if only one team makes the playoffs from it.
Yeah, for me, I have this entire division. The trend that I had, the entire division is going to come down to quarterback play because I think all of them have something to prove. Trubisky going into, I think this is his second year, maybe third year. I'm not really sure. He has to prove that he can be that quarterback. Cousins has to prove he can lead a team to better than 500. Stafford has to prove that he, is a great quarterback because I think even if I don't like his game a whole lot or whatever for the Lions, he has one of the best arms that I've ever seen. I don't think that's debatable with any quarterback ever. But they've never won a playoff game, and you can say that's not having enough talent around him or whatever the case. But we've seen other quarterbacks lead their team to victories, and then Aaron Rodgers, although might some people's eyes maybe the most talented quarterback of all time. He has to prove that he cannot be such an egomaniac, and he can work with a new coach and with the guys that he has on his team. So we'll see. I think it's going to be exciting for that division.
Yeah, it should be good.
But for as far as my ranks, I have the Bears winning it all, Packers number 2, Vikings 3, Lions 4. The Vikings, like you said, I wouldn't be surprised if any of them won. I don't trust the Vikings that much. They're not super high on Cousins, and I think and I hope not. He seems like a good guy, but he just hasn't proved that he can stay healthy.
Yeah, you were breaking up a little bit there, but I think we pretty much got what you were saying. All right. So real quick, we're almost close to an hour mark. Why don't we give our MVP prediction for the season, and then give our Super Bowl matchup and winner prediction? So who you got it for MVP?
MVP, I'm probably surprised. I have Aaron Donald.
Okay.
I has such a good because like I was listening to, I forget who it was. That was a podcast today. Maybe Ryan and somebody else, but just like comparing Aaron Donald to a lot of other defensive players that come before him, he might be the best defensive tackle since like Warren Sapp.
Yeah. Hey, real quick,
Like
you're breaking up a ton. I don't know if you moved like or something. But I'm gonna let you just situate yourself for a second, and I'll go over mine real quick, and then we'll come back to it.
all right.
Yeah, but Aaron Donald's phenomenal. I think he's the best player in football. The only problem is giving a defensive tackle MVP. In today's football, I don't see that happening. But I have Andrew Luck as my MVP. I think he's gonna, he had a comeback year last year. He was pretty good. And I think he's just going to keep building on that. Frank Wright's a really good coach. They have good weapons around him. So, yeah, I have Andrew Luck. How's it going? You want to go again, see how it works?
Is this any better? Because my I have Netflix on right now. It's muted, but that froze too, so I think my internet might have cut out for a minute. But is this any better?
Yeah, it's a lot better.
Okay, so I don't know if you heard me. I'll go over it again. I had Aaron Donald just because, like as you started yours with, he might be the best like football player in the NFL. Definitely the best defensive player, I think. The only person that is even close is Khalil Mack. But I think Aaron Donald is in a league of his own defensively. And although it's going to be hard to give a defensive tackle or defensive player at all the MVP, I think he's going to come out probably 19, 20 sacks, few 5 fumbles, fumble recoveries. He might score a touchdown here and there off of an interception or a fumble recovery. But I think he's going to come out and just be so overwhelmingly good that I have him predicted. I don't know if we're going to do this again in coming weeks, but I have him winning Defensive Player of the Year and MVP. I think he's going to come out and just be a monster this year.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. So, all right, who do you have for your Super Bowl matchup?
This one was kind of hard for me because like you said with Mahomes, the sexy pick is the Chiefs, and people will probably still pick them, and they might still make it there, because they have that most of the system in place. But I think they lost an important piece in Kareem Hunt. Um, I think he was so much more vital to that team than a lot of people are giving credit for now, because they're saying Tyreek Hill is still going to play and they still have Mahomes and they still have this and that. But like, do people realize how good Kareem Hunt is?
Oh,
Like, like that guy is nuts. But so I'm gonna go with tried and true Patriots to represent AFC. Because like, what did they lose really? I don't know. Did they lose anything?
Gronk.
I mean, Brady is a year older, but they didn't lose anything. They
Pretty
still have
much
Belichick. They still have Brady.
was hurt, and their defense did lose a few pieces.
And I guess they lost Gronk, but people are saying he's going to come back. So if he comes back like week 8, I'm cool. I still have them. That's hard though, because like Brady, it's getting so old now. Like I don't know. So Brady, but like 1A being the Chiefs,
Okay.
and then NFC. Again, hard. I'm gonna go with the Eagles because I really have faith in Wentz, and their team is so all around good that I think that they're gonna do really well this year, and I think Wentz is gonna come out and show that he can do just the same thing that Foles did, even better. I think. And I can't think of the guy's name now. Who's the running back that they have coming in? That like the scouts are going nuts over
Miles
this guy.
Sanders.
Yeah, I think he's going to be as good as the scouts think and as good as he looks. So, and their defense has been stout for years and years. And Doug Peterson has shown that he knows how to win with anybody. So I think if he can coach Wentz the same way that he coached Foles, by maybe making the offense a little bit not dumber, but making it more simpler, I guess,
Wentz has
and
been
not rely on Wentz. Yeah, if he can stay healthy, and I think that because like what I think happened is last year when Foles played, they made the offense simpler to allow Foles to really excel. If they can, and when Wentz played, they made it more complex because he's just so much more talented. They were like, oh well, we don't have to. We can kind of run harder plays or make things a little bit more difficult for the opposing defenses because Wentz is able to do a lot more things than Foles is. So if they're able to coach Wentz the same way they did Foles and let Wentz just be in the pocket and hand it off and be in shotgun and sling the ball down the field to the different weapons he has, I think they're going to do really well. And I see him in the Super Bowl again.
Yeah, can't go wrong with either of those picks. The Eagles have consistently been really good. The Patriots, it seems like they're just in the Super Bowl every year. I went with two different ones. I went with the Colts. Again, I think Andrew Luck's going to have a real big year. They have a good young defense. Their offensive line is awesome. Marlon Mack, I don't like that much, but he's a good enough player, and they got good passing weapons. And then I have who should have been in the Super Bowl last year, the New Orleans Saints. I think the Saints are the most complete team in football to me. I'm honestly surprised you didn't pick the Rams in the NFC. But
I was going to go with them, but I think they're going to come back to earth a little bit. And then Gurley, who I've religiously said I'm not worried about. Like, how can you not? So
I just traded for him in fantasy, so he's going to be fine.
Yeah, I know, because I traded him away. But
all right, so you got the Eagles and the Patriots. I have the Colts and the Saints. Who you got winning? Patriots?
No, I have the Eagles winning again.
Okay. I think the Saints are going to win, and Drew Brees is going to retire. Pull a John.
But the thing is, like, I don't know. The Saints, like, they seem to be close every single year, and like right on the cusp of a Super Bowl win, and right on the cusp of Super Bowl appearance, rather, I guess. But they've only been able to pull it off the 1 year, and they've had the same coach and quarterback duo with Brees.
Well,
and
they should have pulled it last year, but the NFL cheated.
No.
The most blatant missed defensive pass interference call of all time. All right, so real quick, we're getting over that hour mark, but I just found something on Twitter that I have to read about Antonio Brown. So I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's super long, but it's from Michael Silver on Twitter. If you guys want to go look it up, you can read the whole thread. It says, even before suffering a bizarre injuries to his feet, Antonio Brown alarmed Raiders coaches and teammates by railing against the NFL's new enhanced enforcement of helmet regulations, a league-wide policy which will likely force the star receiver to switch to a new model. So essentially, the league is banning the model helmet that he wears, and now he's saying he's not going to play football unless they change their mind.
But the thing is,
which has never worked out for a player in the NFL.
No. Well, see, the thing is, like, he can say that all he wants, and I know we're going to end here, so we might end it on this or whatever if you got to say something after this to rebuttal it or whatever. But, like, in NFL contracts, they have to have a way where they can, like, void it out, or they'll just buy him out or something like that if he's like, yeah, I'm just not going to play. Like, he's not going to be able to do that. So, like, he's going to end up playing. And if he's on the field, and as long as he's not being just, like, a petty brat, he's going to be an excellent wide receiver because he's one of the best to ever play.
He's the best receiver in football. It's just he's insane.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to get on the field because he's not going to say, oh, I'm not playing because of my new helmet. He's not going to be able to do that. They're going to make him play, or he's going to play.
I don't know. He demanded a trade from a team that was going to pay him big money that they've had a lot of success for literally no reason because he was mad that they drafted another receiver who was really good.
I mean, it makes sense to me.
Let me see here. So his contract, it's $30 million guaranteed over the course of the contract. So that's quite a bit of guaranteed money. The total salary is $50 million. So yeah, even if he didn't play a down of football, he was getting $30 million of his $50 million contract. So,
and I don't know if either one of us knows this. You might, I guess. But is there some way to, like, not have to pay him that money? Because teams, and they've shown that
they could take him to court over it, like the Lions did with Calvin Johnson when he retired early, and request the money back. So that's definitely an option, but it's not a guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he'll play, I'm sure, but he's just today's NFL players are so insane, sitting out.
Yeah.
You know, it's a crazy time. All right, well, I think that's a good place to wrap it up. We had a nice discussion, our top 5 bands, favorite bands again, not necessarily who we think are the best bands, but our favorite bands. And then a little NFC North discussion as well as our Super Bowl predictions. You got anything else to chime in?
No, not too much. I guess we're gonna post this on Facebook, obviously.
Yeah.
So I'll leave a little tip here. What do you guys, people listening, whoever you might be, I know there's some of you out there. What do you think about Ezekiel Elliott holding out? He still has, I believe, this season and next on his contract. What do you think about that? I'll comment on there if you do. If you think it's a good idea, if you think he's insane for doing it, you think he'll get paid. What do you think the Cowboys should do? I think we'll start a little bit of conversation there, and we'll go over it next week, kind of what I think about it, maybe what you think about it, and then whoever comments what they think about it, we'll go over that next time.
Over maybe all the holdouts and just controversial things going on. Week 2 of preseason will have happened. So, all right, y'all. Apologize for the technical difficulties there in the middle. Can't do anything about some Wi-Fi going out, but we got through it. And leave in the comments below if you have any subject ideas, a topic you want us to discuss, anything like that. We're thinking about different segments as well, trying to mix it up a little bit. I'd love to work in a little trivia, like we each find a trivia nugget, for each other each week or something like that too. So it's a work in progress, but give it a like, hit the subscription button so you get notified when we put a new video on. And again, you can find us on Facebook at the Balls and Bars Podcast, on Twitter at the Balls and Bars Pod, and on YouTube at the Balls and Bars Podcast. All right, everybody, have a good night.
See ya.